Greetings and welcome to another River Radio Sports Central podcast alongside Matt Varney from 103.5 ESPN. I am Darren Kennard. We've had a couple of weeks off. Each of us have had vacations. Have kind of been in catch-up mode. When you look at the goings-on in the region, one of the big news has been the coaching changes.
Oh man, I mean it's been the carousel's so fun. It's honestly one of my favorite times in the news cycle. Because you kind of see it coming one way or another. Sometimes you don't, but a lot of time, a month before the announcements happen, you're like, okay, who's gonna go where, and we start making our predictions. And so yeah, we've seen a couple happen, including last night. I know Rob Flanagan's not. He was in the area a long time ago.
Right.
He was an assistant last year at Woodlawn, but maybe not as well known of a name as he probably should be in the area. But he just got a job all the way over in Indiana. But the big news is Mount Vernon, Darren.
Yeah, and Rob was actually, in the mix for the Mount Vernon job, and he's a Hall of Famer with 598 wins. A lot of the overwhelming majority of them at Olney. Spent last year coaching with his nephew Luke Cooper at Woodlawn, and then Luke is the one who got the job at Mount Vernon, and so now Woodlawn is open, as you mentioned. The carousel spins, and then Rob is going to Vincennes, and so now you've got Cooper taking over for Tim Holloway, who stepped down a month ago, and so again, you just see the wheels turning. Woodlawn has a special board meeting coming up next week where they potentially could name
You'd think,
of the new replacement. But you've got these time periods that March and April, early May, because you want to have the guy or gal in place as you get into the summer stuff.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, it's a very important time. June, July is very important because you've got your scrimmages, obviously, and just also getting into workouts, learning the system, and knowing the guys, getting to know the guys. So especially for Luke Cooper, he's taken a big step up from Woodlawn to Mount Vernon. Not that really the game changes by any means, but it's gonna feel a little bit different for him specifically, going from 1A to 3A. The facilities will change. He'll have to learn a lot of new people and his team, obviously. So his system might change a little bit because, maybe I can do this now with X amount of more athletes in the school. So it'll be interesting to see how Luke Cooper adapts going from a school like Woodlawn, which is a fantastic school, but going from Woodlawn to Mount Vernon, that's a big step up. I'm looking forward to see just how things change for him.
Yeah, 1A to 3A is a big jump, and if for no other reason, just the travel involved for road games and such. So that's one of those interesting things. One of the other things that came about last week, and you did the interview talking about we're going to have another midwinter tournament, as Murfreesboro is going to add one.
Yeah, they're looking to. They've got 3 schools right now. You can hear it on River Radio Sports Central, the interview with AD Jeremy Marshall at Murfreesboro. Carbondale's involved, Meridian's involved, Murfreesboro obviously involved. They're looking to fill 2 more spots to make it kind of an all-week affair, obviously, and make it round robin. So it's something that I'm not going to complain about. Not having to go to Sparta for a full week during the basketball season will be certainly a lot better going to Murfreesboro than Sparta. But it's something that I'd heard for a little bit in the shadows of this might be happening, may not be. They're taking the leap forward, and so they're looking for 2 more schools. But with a brand new gym to showcase in January, I think they're really looking forward to this big event for them.
Yeah, and I think that's the obviously the crux of it is you're going to get this new gym. Let's put it to use, and I think that we see that with Cobden. They have started a couple tournaments, and then they volunteer to host everything IHSA related, and I think that with Murfreesboro that'll certainly be the case. And again, got a sneak peek back back during the season, and I understand why they want to show. They're going to want to show this off because it's going to be something special.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, from all the renderings that I've seen, you got to see. I said, man, how did you get in? I didn't. It's fine. Obviously, I'll be seeing it plenty.
Right.
Probably more than most people. But it's something that I've also said with brand new gym. Go get some regionals. Go get some sectionals for both boys and girls basketball. Put it to use. If you can get a wrestling regional by means, just everything that you can. Go ahead.
Right.
The renderings make it look fantastic, and as you've said, and some other people that have seen it in person, everyone said, "Man, it's going to look fantastic." I'm excited about what I've seen. It looks great, and so just another opportunity to put it to use and showcase the school. It's great for Murfreesboro.
Now, that being said,
Yeah. I knew you were going to go here.
I completely understand why Murfreesboro wants to do this, and certainly, again, completely understand that. But we have so many tournaments, and it's just you've got a bunch of tournaments. We've got too many tournaments. Let's just call it what it is. There's too many tournaments. And when there are tournaments that only have 4 or 5 teams in them, I mean, first of all, to me, a tournament needs to be bracketed in 8 teams. And I know I'm maybe on my own on that, but we've seen tournaments with 6 that they play the 5 round robins, and we've seen some that have had 6 where they play a couple pool play and then they have the 3 trophy games. 5 is a little different. 4 is a little squirrely. What I would love to see is that some of these tournaments that have maybe been struggling or low on teams, you have Murfreesboro, for instance, come in, combine your efforts and basically have 2 separate tournaments to decide who's going to play in the trophy games, and then you rotate the trophy games on that Saturday from year to year, and I think it cuts down, the commitments that the schools have to make and all this and that. And I get it, you don't get the full bang every year for your buck, but I think it's a way that we could salvage some of these tournaments that have been around for a long period of time,
Right.
without, with minimal invasiveness.
Well, and Murfreesboro is no stranger to doing that, because they had the Ernie Bozarth tournament for
Exactly.
2 decades, and in the final couple of years they combined with Trico, and I think that was 3 or 4 years that they did that with Trico there before the Ernie Bozarth eventually went away, unfortunately. But that was also Len Navarre as the AD then. Now you got Derek Beard and Jeremy Marshall as co-ADs at Murfreesboro. They may be trying to go their own route, see what happens, but they might have to eventually say, you know what, we've gone this route before as a school. Maybe we need to go look at that again. But I think they're hoping that it starts out as a 5-team round robin, but maybe it catches on and they can do a little bit more in the future.
And that's not to say that it's got to be Murphy.
Right.
There's been other, the West Frankfort Midwinter Tournament is down to 4 teams on boys and girls. Carmi is down. And so when you think about, hey, why you could legitimately, without a lot of trouble, considering the teams that are involved, you could combine those 2. It didn't have to be Murfreesboro, but it's just, it feels like there's got to be some consolidation, or there's going to be some tournaments that just go away because they're not viable anymore. And again, at the end of the day, so many tournaments in Illinois.
Yeah, without a doubt. But in terms of this specific tournament, I say it on the interview with Jeremy, it looks like for those 2 remaining spots, something that any level team could sit there and say, well, why not? Because you got a 1A school in Meridian, 2A with Murphy, and 3A with Carbondale. So those 2 spots right there, maybe you have to go a little bit further out of the area, but I think they want to try to keep it as local as possible. But there's a lot of commitments also to Midwinter. So, but I think you look at it, and I think almost any school can sit there and say, well, we've got a spot there, maybe we could compete for the championship for that tournament. Or if nothing else, we're going to get some good looks as postseason time is coming up. So I think it's a great situation. I hear you on the too many tournaments thing. We talked about it plenty during basketball
Get off my lawn.
But at the same time, when they specifically are looking for 2 more, I think that it's a really great opportunity for any school that's looking at it, saying, hey, well, we have that week open, which is the week of Martin Luther King Day, when most of them are happening. If there's someone that's looking to make a switch or someone that has an opening, I think it's a very inviting atmosphere where it's like, well, they have 3 levels of schools there that, well, we could probably at least swing this one or get 2 wins somehow, some way. And so it's something that isn't a daunting inaugural tournament by any means, where you're looking at, well, there's a bunch of 2As in there, or there's 2 3As in Murphy. It's got something for everybody, and so that's a good thing right there, where I think they'll fill those 2 spots pretty easily once the word gets out.
And then you see a team from this past year, such as a Waltonville,
Yeah.
that played up whenever they could.
Yeah.
So you get a quality 1A team that wants to be challenged by good 2A or good 3A schools. I mean, you might have that situation now. Waltonville, you mentioned Meridian going to Murfreesboro. They were at Benton. Waltonville's going to be at Benton, I believe, and then and also at Benton you've got I think Vandalia's out, and I believe T-Town is in or in the works, and so those are some different things. You mentioned the midwinter. It's different than the holiday tournaments because you've got, these are school nights.
Yes.
And granted, you can make certain, okay, hey, you're going to play on Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday. If you're coming from far away, like Vandalia coming down to Benton, that's not a great trip on a school night.
No.
So
and you throw in all the weather that we had this past year too.
And so T-Town to Benton's not. I mean, it's straight down the interstate, but that's a long road. And so again, you just you can, there's some things you can do in the schedule to massage that, where it's not like, oh, in the previous, where it was the 6-team round robins, where you played 3 games a night, and you played twice on Saturday, but you were still having to make multiple trips during the week, so you don't have that issue. But again, it just takes a little bit of planning, and I think you can work around some things.
Yeah, without a doubt. So it'll be interesting to see, obviously, Murfreesboro, but as you mentioned, there's some things going on at Benton now, which it looks like a very appetizing. When you start going through who will be there, you're like, man, that looks pretty darn good right there for the Benton tournament.
Yeah, and we did with the Goreville getting Team of the Year, some changes to the Goreville Invitational, going to expand to 8 teams in a bracket tournament as well. So and getting some different teams involved there. So it's kind of the high school version of the transfer portal.
A little bit.
It's the schools that are deciding to go different places, and much like the coaching carousel, the same thing happens. You mentioned Murfreesboro out at Sparta, then that means Sparta's got to get somebody else, or adapt their schedule and things like that. So it feels like it I'm going to sound like an old guy. It's not like the old days where
it's not.
You went to the one tournament and that's where you went. This particular week.
Yeah. And then speaking of the coaching carousel again, something that grabbed me by surprise yesterday morning, Nolan Kellerman going to DuQuoin as well. And I think that's a great hire for them. He's got a great pedigree with. He was an assistant at Murphy for the past couple of years, and then he also has that Pinckneyville pedigree. I'm thinking DuQuoin has got a really good coach in Nolan Kellerman.
Yeah, and this is a team that was pretty good.
Yeah,
and
18 wins.
They had 18 wins and certainly had some moments this year.
I mean, they pushed Nashville to the brink in the regional.
Yeah, and so interesting there. Well, we're recording on a Thursday, and this is the first night of the NFL draft.
That's right.
And we're going to kind of connect some dots here. You hear about the NFL Combine, where prospects go and they time them in different agility drills and in sprints, and they see how much how much weight they can lift and how high they can jump and things like that. Well, this week at Marion, we had a high school combine, and the first one of its kind, and it's IHSA endorsed. The IHSA got together with some high school coaches and came up with this concept, and throughout the state, there are 18 of these combines, and basically players from the region, freshmen, sophomores, juniors, can go. a bunch of college coaches show up. They get to see a bunch of kids in one place and kind of take some notes. And Tuesday night was the very first one of the inaugural group of them, and it went off really well at Marion, and it seems like it's been a very good experience for all involved.
Yeah, I love the quote from Coach Dunning at Marion that you did with him, and he says, I thought maybe we'd be a little bit further down the list and I could take a look at, okay, what were these guys doing so I could copy, and then all of a sudden the list comes out and, we're number one. I got to start coming up with ideas right now. And so, but from all that I've heard, it went fantastically. Everybody enjoyed it. And just a great opportunity for the local kids. The only complaint that I had with it was that when you see the schools that are coming, I'm like, can we get a couple more? But this is also a learning process,
right?
And more schools will be coming to these in future years. But the local schools, SIU, SEMO, Murray State, they all come out because these are kids that they want to be looking at anyway. Some of them, they're like, yeah, we've seen these kids quite a bit, actually. But when I see just Illinois, the only true Division I school there in terms of it's not FBS anymore, but the playoff system,
the high major type.
Yeah, exactly. And I see they're the only ones. I'm like, let's get a couple more of them out here. Come on.
Well, and they ran into some issues from what I've been told. With the Big Ten wasn't happy with Illinois and Northwestern being involved in this, and that's
send your schools. Come on.
That's an interesting tidbit. But of these 18, there were only 2 in the southern part of the state. Yeah. Marion hosted one. Collinsville hosted one last night. I think they had 180 plus kids.
That's awesome.
Marion had 140. And you're not only talking about kids from the region, but we had kids from Cahokia. There was a kid from Newton and Flora came down to Marion. Collinsville had quite a few as well. And it's obviously the FCS schools, Southern, Murray, SEMO, but it's also McKendree and Milliken and the various levels. And these are kids that they're going to go to various levels of college, and so being able to perform in front of these coaches, and then more importantly, I thought, which was really cool, was at the end getting to talk to these coaches.
Yeah.
And I saw a lot of
make connections.
I saw a lot of giving the phone, hey, put your name and number in here both ways.
Which is great.
And again, just being able to put a name with a face is big. And so again, I think this is a pretty cool event, and most importantly, maybe it was free.
Yeah. That
so many of these things are money makers for the individuals that are groups that put it on, and you got guys traveling 5 hours and paying a bunch of money to get in front of scouts, and you're able to do that free here.
Yeah, that's such a big service to the people of Illinois in general, but around here, Southern Illinois, obviously, because again, that's why I was a little frustrated only seeing Illinois come in of the big boys, because I know they say if you can play football, they'll find you, but I want these, because these are juniors, sophomores, and freshmen that are going to these. I want them to be on their radar. I want a Michigan State or a UCLA. I know UCLA probably not coming from all, but nonetheless, I want them to be on those radars and not having to be as in a couple years sending tape out on Twitter to all these coaches saying, please take a look at me. I want them to be on all those radars if possible, and this is a great way for it. Again, I know it's the inaugural one. I'm sure it'll draw more as the years go on, but I saw that, and absolutely, you're going to have guys that are Milliken level talent, which I mean, D3 football players are fantastic. I've been around quite a few, and they're very good, great human beings. But you're going to have your D2s, you're going to have your high D1s, and then your FCS levels, and it's just, I want them to all see them all. I see Keegan Shields over at Murfreesboro as a freshman do what he did, and I know for a fact that there's not too many college coaches out there that are outside our immediate area that don't even know the name. I'm like, this guy almost ran for 1,000 yards as a freshman. Dang it, you guys should be all paying attention to him, and he'll be noticed obviously as the years go on. But it's just, I want all these kids to have these opportunities, and so when I see only one of the big boys coming, I'm like, well, we got to get those numbers up next year, get a couple more out there. But it's still a fantastic opportunity, and I think a couple more local kids are going to get, if not a scholarship, at least an opportunity to play at the college level because of this event.
And I think that, when you get to some of the northern ones, you're going to see the big boys. But I did see, and this is a great opportunity for the SIUs of the world.
It is.
To be able to recruit the state and, again, have everybody in the same place and to be able to see them all. I think that's a big advantage, and I think would be a big plus for them moving forward as well.
Well, and it also will be for our football talent around Southern Illinois. It'll be another motivator. It'll be another opportunity to get better. And when you're looking at, the middle of April and you're not thinking about football, you're in track season, or you're playing whatever your spring sport is. But we do have quite a bit of football talent around here, and it continually getting better every year, from what I can tell at least. And so it's another opportunity. And so for them to be able to walk into June, into summer workouts and say, okay, I saw this guy at this combine be able to do this, I want to also be able to do it. It's just another opportunity to grow in a way that really hasn't been there in the past. You go to at least 9 games, now it's going to be 10 games, but at least 9 games, and you might see one guy do something once, and by the time that you get around to summer workouts, it may have escaped your brain just because you've had so much happen. This is a refresher of what I need to get better at. This is a refresher of, I saw this guy do this. I want to be able to learn how to do that as well. It's a great opportunity in so many different ways, and it's only going to help the kids of Southern Illinois get to be even better as football players.
Well, and I think they get to see, okay, where do I stack up with other guys, even just within our region? Okay, what are some things I'm going to have to get better at?
Exactly.
Because not only was it running against the clock, but then they did different, competitive drills where it's wide receiver DB, and the quarterbacks it wasn't quite 7-on-7, but it was a smaller version of that, and you get to see real quick, hey, I'm going to have to get in the weight room, or I'm going to have to get quicker, or if I'm going to see somebody like him, I got to be better prepared.
Yeah, without a doubt. So it just provides another opportunity, and it just reminds us that, hey, August is going to be here before you know it, and football starts a week earlier this year.
Yeah, it again, as you get older, the time passes real fast, and it will be here in the blink of an eye. Well, that's going to do it for this River Radio Sports Central podcast. For Matty V, I'm Darren Kennard. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you again soon.